Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit old for you.
We're that deep into Danny Rohl. Please don't.
And he waited.
Been truly horrific having this season away from home.
I want goals.
Anyone would think that we rehearse this, and I guarantee that we haven't.
How poor do we have to be before it's happening? How much blood from this stone does he have to get?
The Wednesday Week.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week, episode 432, imaginarily titled Dannyversary. Hey, do you like what we did there? Yeah, I like that one. Tonight I'm joined by Stevie, Simon, John, and I am Ash, not Dan. He's having a break because he deserves it. Welcome to another Monday night live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Gents, how are we? All good. John, you first, since you're on the top.
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, thankfully the international break is passing now. It's we cast our minds to Saturday now and gearing up for returns to Hillsborough. So counting down the days, can't wait.
Yeah, Simon, international break lover, aren't you?
I didn't even know we were playing the other night, and everybody's going on about Greece beating us, and I'm like, was there a match on tonight? I'm deep into Narcos at the moment on Netflix, so everything else takes second precedent at the moment.
Oh. Stevie, how are we? All good?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How are you, Ash?
Mate,
How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, good.
Good.
So,
Glad to hear it.
I know it's been international break, but we've had a couple of good things to talk about Sheffield Wednesday-wise, haven't we? I mean, you must have been living under a rock. Even Simon knew that it was Danny's anniversary yesterday, 12 months in the job. Let's get straight to it. In fact, look, I think we've got a look at this little graphic that our boss has put together for everyone. So, yeah, lovely stuff. First question to Simon then. Danny Rohl, 12 months ago, mate. Obviously, it was out of the blue appointment. I think we could all see that Cisco's time was coming to an end. But cast your mind back 12 months, if you can, Simon. I'll not make the usual jokes.
Oh, wow. Steve made a tweet out of it the other day about my age. So
That's our AOB tonight.
It's just a cheap shot at the old man on the podcast.
It is, Simon. We're not ageist on this podcast.
No, not much. Not.
Danny Rohl got announced in his nice little jumper. What were your initial thoughts 12 months ago? And be honest, like obviously because it's worked out at the minute, hasn't it? So you can say
he came with a great pedigree, didn't he? I think I was one of the guys. I think we all were actually quite positive about it, but I certainly felt at the time that he came from the sort of Red Bull school and football, and he came done half decent job at Southampton as assistant. He was assistant manager for Germany. I mean, that's a great CV. Come on. And I think all three of us, myself, you, Steve, we all went down to Watford, saw his first game after, I don't think it was even a week, was it, in charge? Was it like 4 days or something like that? And we saw despite losing.
You've gone.
I think someone muted me.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought we saw a marked change in the first 3 or 4 days of him being in charge. So I was impressed. Come with a good CV. Got to give the guy a chance. It couldn't be any worse than what we just got rid of, could he?
No. Yeah, John, how about you? Your first impressions of Danny when he first got appointed?
Well, I must confess, I didn't really know much about Danny Rohl at all. I did know that he was in the running originally when Cisco got the job. It was, I think they interviewed him as well, and I think Cisco basically won the role because he'd got actual promotion on his CV, but it was with a very strong Watford side that had still got Premier League players and stuff. So he missed out that first initial time. So absolutely luckily for us that the mess that was Cisco, that Danny Rohl was still available and was willing to come back and take the job on. And as Simon said, he's got that good experience. He's worked with some of the top coaches in the world, being at some of the best support positions in the world with these clubs. So that alone was a bit of a coup when you looked at where he'd come from. And to, let's be honest, we're a big club in the Championship, but we know that we've not got the clout to challenge, for promotion places or a big transfer kitty. So he's purely doing it just to, dip his toe and get into management. And he came along and, like you say, he changed the style immediately. He brought players back in. I think Marvin Johnson, as we well documented, was frozen out under Cisco, and he got a new lease of life under Danny and one or two others as well. And you could just see that slowly but surely it was starting to have an impact. And here we are 12 months later, which we'll talk about going forward.
Yeah, Stevie, coming in, Danny, obviously a left field appointment to us fans. I mean, I'm sure insiders knew what he was in, but he had nothing really to lose, did he, with his first job after the shit show? Sorry, swearing, apologies. The disastrous tenure under Cisco. So it was a no-brainer
for him.
Yeah.
It's we're very, you can flash forward a year and realise how lucky we are, and we can wax lyrical about everything that he's done over the last 12 months. But as Simon has pointed out, and you yourself, this is a guy he's coached at Premier League level. He's been in the Red Bull system. He's worked under world-class managers, and I mean, Hansi Flick is no joke, and he's picked him. And he picked him to go and work with him. Let's be right, they might not be in the FIFA rankings in the top 5 or whatever it was at the time, but Germany are one of the best international teams that are out there. And he worked within that system with people like Manuel Neuer. The running joke at the time is he's been working with Manuel Neuer, and then it's coming and he's now working with Cameron Dawson. And it's when you look at it with that sort of measure of player that he worked with, and that's no disrespect to Cameron Dawson, by the way, but they're
I know. He could have picked any goalkeeper, just happened to a goalkeeper that.
No, I am not Dan Fudge.
A certain host of this podcast has had a go at in the past.
Yeah, but from my point of view, when he came in, if somebody had said to me the ex-Germany assistant coach is going to come, he's been in the Red Bull system, he's been around at this sort of level, he's managed these players, he's going to come and give it a go. If you look at people like, and at the time it was sort of Michael Carrick's been in Man United and he'll work with this level of coach and this level of manager. I actually think he came with a pedigree that was probably a level above that. And so you're looking at Arteta, who worked under Guardiola, and I'm not for a second, please don't think I'm comparing him to that sort of level at this point. I'm not. What I'm saying is that model of having somebody who has worked with within a very strong system, with a very good coach, first team manager, whatever you want to call it, and then he's playing his own trade. It was that sort of, it was a level down from that. And at the time I was really excited by it. And as time has come to pass, it's gone to show that it's been fruitful for all of us. And I think, as we'll probably get on to discuss, it's not just him; it's everything around the club. The recruitment, the backroom staff, the philosophy, the way we do things, the way he sets up on a Saturday, without wanting to steal too many people's thunder. He's changed the culture of the club, and I think we are now in a position where we'll get onto it, but if he is successful with us and then moves on, we've now got a blueprint for the next manager, the successor, the person that comes in afterwards, and I think it's just changed everything. I'm really happy.
He did say when he first came to the club, he did want to bring an assistant or like a coach that had experience in the Football League, and I don't think he could have got any better. And I don't know what he said or how he sold it to Chris Powell, but I think he has been fundamental as well. So I think hats off to him to recognise it's coming to I know he was here with Southampton, so he had a little bit of experience, but he came to his first managerial job looking for help already, straight away from the bat. And I think it was a masterstroke, and obviously it's turned out to be as well. It really has. And I think for me, John, I'll come to you on this. It's helped that the fans have took to him as well, haven't they? Straight away, I think having a song which has helped, and an identity of that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a pretty quick song that we could drum up for given his surname and what it sounded like and stuff. And I think they just come in a good young manager with fresh ideas about how to play the game in a modern way. You know, with the high press and the low block, whatever you want to call it. He's got a vision. He's got an idea, and he will play that way and have us playing that way, even to a degree where it doesn't work. It doesn't always work, and sometimes you get heavily punished for it. But he believes in his principles. He's said that many a time in interviews over the course of the last 12 months. He's got a style that he wants us to play, and he very rarely deviates from it. Occasionally, you will have to, like, you know, at the back end of last season when things were just ever so tight and we needed points to stay up. He would do that. He would move away from that style of play to dig in and grind results out and then game manage it really well. I think he's been one of the best game managing managers I can recall following Wednesday since we dropped out of the Premier League. He just really knows how to close out games and by and large his substitutions are normally spot on and normally timely. A lot of managers in the past you've been waiting for him to bring players on and the game's gone by the time they've brought players on for like the last 5 minutes or whatever, the last 10. So I think he's got a really good approach all round, and he's just brought a lot to the table. And when you can see his passion as well on the sidelines, I know fans always want to see a passionate manager, and you know you could argue how much does that really make a difference, but it makes a difference to the fans, and we love it. We love that passion, and we love it when we win and he comes round and he's clapping all the stands, and we're doing the Danny Rohl song, belting out the speakers. It's been a marriage made in heaven so far, isn't it? Even though we're only 15, but we're all very happy with the progress made under Danny. He performed a miracle to keep us up, and now we're in season 2. And you can see there's progress there. Just wish we'd got some money to properly back him, but that's another story.
Simon, we've had a comment here from Lolo de Wednesday, and about the question about it was a no-brainer. Obviously, thinks opposite. Think it's a brave first job to take on. Could have ended his career before it started. It's a fair point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is a fair point, but there's I think there was a blank canvas there with Wednesday in regards to what he felt he could do for the club. You've and as Steve alluded to it, it's not just the manager as a whole, the coach as a whole. It's what he's brought in since then. You actually look at the model that he's employed within the club, which this club has never had before. You know, we've always been reliant on the single manager and the a coaching staff of 3 or 4. You know, you look at the backroom staff now, and he has employed that Red Bull model and brought people in from the Red Bull model, and I think he's seen he's looked at the club and obviously spoken to people. He always spoke about bringing an English coach or an English manager in with him as well. Obviously, Powell came in on that. I don't think he was naive in what he was taking on, but I also think he felt that if I'm going to do anything with a club that needs it, then this is the ideal club to put my ethos into, my what I feel we can do. I think that the point is when Danny leaves us, the club can't go back to what we had previously. You know, we've installed now a structure within the club. Even if people like Chris Powell were to leave, and Sasha Lenz and the other coaching staff, that they've established now and put into place now an ethos that can't return to the Gary Monk and two coaching staff. You know, this is a whole new ethos and a whole new forward in regards to the way the club's going to be run.
Cisco and his brother, weren't it?
Yeah, was it Cisco and his
brother?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and that, you look at other clubs. in the Championship, and there's very few that have got the same sort of management structure that we've got. You have to go into the Premiership, and we've alluded to this many times in the podcast in the past. You know, we've got a system in place that a lot of clubs would be actually quite jealous of. And I'll go back and I agree, Tyler, with John. I just wish we had a little bit more money to back up that, not only with players but also facilities as well. You know, and we can only do that if we get into the Premier League, because then we'll have that influx of money.
Stevie, go on, mate. Yeah.
I was just going to jump on the back of that and sort of say, yeah, there's the money aspect of it, but also at the same time, you know, we're now in a position where we are recruiting decent loan players. And the one thing that I would say is that I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't done more of it. We've managed to get Beadle in again from Brighton, who obviously is now performing at England under 21 level. So he is the future. He's not a player that we're going to keep forever, obviously, because he's not ours. Same with Charles. Those two players, if Shea Charles goes on to have a good season and performs at the level that he has been performing, you know, people are going to look at Sheffield Wednesday as a club, as an organisation that will bring on young players. And if you want to get a lad out at 19, 20 years old, and we've talked about this for the last 2-3 years, you want to get a lad out at 19, 20 years old and get in 6 months, 9 months, a season of football under his belt, playing in a system with a manager who's progressive like Danny Rohl, then Sheffield Wednesday is an absolutely, it's bang on in terms of the proposition for those Premier League managers and coaches that want to get those players the experience. Go and have a look at what Charles has done at Wednesday. Go and have a look at what Beadle's doing. He's now playing in the England under 21s, and that's because he's keeping, not so many this season, but he's kept a hell of a lot of clean sheets playing for Sheffield Wednesday. You know, Charles is running it. You know, you've got Pierce Charles, who's now breaking into the Northern Ireland squad. We are, regardless of our position at the moment, and the sad fact is we are 15th at the moment, I think we are. But when things sort of settle down, and it's the age-old sort of cliche, isn't it? You don't look at the league before Christmas or December time, and then we'll see where we are in January sort of situation. I'm fairly confident that we'll be upper end of mid-table by the time Christmas comes around, based on where, you know, the things that I've seen over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Are we going to win every game? No. Are we going to lose some more? Absolutely 100%, because that's where we are at the moment. And the reality is we are, whereas we were thinking about a playoff push at through pre-season, we probably are just a mid-table side at the moment. But if you look at that in terms of incremental gains, and we can maintain this manager and coach setup, and we can get some more players in at Christmas, and we get some more players in next summer, then next year is where we need to start thinking about where we might be. And I'm really excited by it.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told this before, but I was part of the engagement. Well, I am part of the engagement panel. We had a meeting the night before he got announced, and I couldn't make it to the ground for it, so I was on Zoom. But the other members of the panel that were there, someone knocked on the door and walked in, and it was, obviously we didn't know who it was. It was Danny Rohl at the time, who were having his, I don't know, tea and biscuits with the owner or something. And he put his head in, wrong room, and then that was it. And then this was a day, and obviously no one knew. Obviously they knew the manager had gone, but they didn't know who this guy was. And that was quite a
Is that where they got the Ugbo unveiling idea from?
It could have been. It could have been. In the what's the thing of being fair? I suppose we do have we do criticise, but also Martin's put a comment on. Let's credit Chansiri too. One, to bring him in, but secondly, to convince him that this is the place to stay and build something. That's if it was Chansiri. I don't know if you've got agents or whoever. I'm sure it was. But yeah, I
100% think he feels the love that he's getting from the Wednesday fans. I think, you know, we're a tribal bunch, aren't we? And I've said this privately over the last couple of weeks, where Sheffield Wednesday fans get a raw deal because of everything that, I think I said it on the Q&A the other day. We get a raw deal because of everything that happens in the press and so forth. However, you know, I defy anyone to come to an away game with Sheffield Wednesday fans and tell us that we're not a good bunch. I'm biased, but I'm one of us. But we're good lads. You know, we take the piss. We laugh at each other, we help each other out, we jump on, we're a community, we're a family. It's great. And I think that he's bought into that to an extent.
So you don't credit Chansiri at all? You're an harsh one there, Steve.
Listen, I'm not saying that I don't credit Chansiri. Chansiri's clearly doing something, and I think it's a bit of a reciprocal situation in that.
Of course.
I would argue that Rohl's going, I will stay and I will do this, and I will manage your football team, but let me manage your football team. So stop this micromanagement. Stop telling me what I need to do. Stop making sure that you have the last say on absolutely everything. If you want me to set up a good coaching setup, let me do it, and I'll show you what I need. I'll tell you what I need, and this is how it's going to happen. And I think Rohl is probably better. He's definitely better than Xisco. And the argument was always with Moore, regardless of what you thought about Darren Moore. There was that element of who's controlling who, and is there an ability to manage up? And I think that the way that Darren Moore left the club proved that he wasn't quite able to manage the club in the same way that Danny has. And I think Danny Rohl is the ideal person to, said with the greatest respect, keep Chansiri in his box.
I totally agree with that. I think that on the outside, it has been, or Chansiri has been guilty of appearing to be like that. Being fingers in all the pies and doing everything and having and I do know it is a very lean staff at Hillsborough behind the scenes. It's very, everyone's got multiple job roles and they do all sorts, and it is very, very much. You don't have to go far the ladder to get to the owner of the club, if you know what I mean. It's not like you're going through CEO, CFO, you know what I mean. It's very much probably the manager, the commercial manager, and then the owner, something like that.
Well, that became evident, didn't it, when last season Danny were booking hotel rooms for away games, weren't it? So I mean, that tells you everything, really, doesn't it?
It was. 12 months on, so we've had we've got 366 days into Danny Rohl's tenure. Simon, what's been your favourite standout moment? And it could be anything. It could be a game. It could be a speech or a sat. Or what do you think the Danny Rohl is most standout moment for you over the last 12 months?
Oh, goodness me. There's a couple of things that stand in mind. I think the first one is the last game of the season at Sunderland when we secured championship survival. And what really got me that day was, and it's something of the ethos that he's brought from Germany, was when the players sat down in the goal mouth and basically sat there and took in the fans and took in it was a quiet moment for them to suddenly look at, I don't know how many we took, 2,500, 3,000. Obviously we were all exhilarated, singing, etc. And they just sat and took it in. And it was almost like that, thank you. We appreciate the support that you've given us, because it was pretty bad last year, but we kept turning up. We kept coming. We took 7,500 to Blackburn. We kept, we had the drubbing at Huddersfield, but we still came back for more and more and more. And I think that one really sticks in my mind. And then the second part really is him confirming his future to the club and then setting out a really good, solid pre-season, of which then filled us probably with a little too much hope for the start of the season. But it gave us a pre-season that I don't think we've had for a long time. A long time. And it's actually brought some pride back into being a Wednesday fan, because we have been much derided through the press and through certain unsatisfactory elements or unsavoury elements, which are amongst all fan bases, but we've had
very minute minority into it.
Very minute minority.
But they get the loudest press.
But they get the loudest press, exactly. And then obviously with our younger brother across the city having a little bit more successful time over the last few years, it's just been nice to, wear the Wednesday shirt if you wear one, and go, and be proud to be a Wednesdayite. And I think Danny and his coaching staff have brought that back, which is something we've not had for a long time.
Yeah. John, what about your favourite Danny moment of the last 12 months? What stood out for you?
It's hard to put it into one moment, but I think just really for me it was just the actual so like similar to Simon, just knowing that we'd actually stayed up at Sunderland, but all those last running of games what we did where we were just we were winning games and we started to believe and kept that belief going, but also kept us expectations tempered somewhat as well. It were always one game at a time. As you said earlier, it looked dead and buried after Huddersfield. It looked like it was an impossible task, but Danny believed. He kept the squad believing, and turned the fans around as well. We'd go and get another good result, and all of a sudden we're back on, and just to go and finish the way that we did. I mean, basically, Wednesday's just a bat poo crazy club, aren't we? I mean, we've had 2 miracles in 3 seasons, haven't we? Whatever, we've had the should have been out against Peterborough, and then we'll go and get ourselves up, and we all know, the story of that, and then should have been relegated by a country mile, and we come back and stay up. It's just that's just Sheffield Wednesday. It's such a roller coaster ride being a fan, but I just think Danny's just brought hope, hasn't he? He's brought hope to the club. He's brought hope to the fans. You could argue every season that the club tries to sell you hope, don't they? But, sign a player here, sign a player there, or whatever. We got it through management. We got a really, really top coach and backroom staff because we haven't got the budget to go out and compete with these teams. So we've gone a different route, and it's looking like short, middle, and hopefully long term that we'll reap the benefits of that. But the better he does with us, then the obviously bigger risk there is that somebody will come in from. But we know that. But I'd rather have that than, like you said before, go back to the old ways of employing washed-up managers who've been out on a job for years and just want a payday, really. So Danny sold us hope, and I'm there for it.
Yeah, like it, John. Yeah, I'm with you with that one. I think, Stevie, same question to you, mate. And anyone who's listening, watching, if you want to put in the comments what your favourite moment is. Stevie, what's been over the 12 months your favourite Danny moment?
I think the lads have covered it to an extent. I think if I were to offer something different, just to give a little little variety on the conversation, that moment at full time when we secured the first win of the season, Rotherham, and then they started playing the Rohl song, Daddy Cool. Bearing in mind that we'd not won in 13 games and we were in the shit, that just had one moment of euphoria. And I know it was only Rotherham, and I know we were bottom of the league, and I know all of that. That moment, I think, will always be a point to go back in history and realise that that's when things started to change. You could pick the Blackburn game away. You could pick Preston at Christmas. You could pick Sunderland, as we have. The other one for me that I really enjoyed on a personal level was Stoke. The Masaba last minute goal. It wasn't a great performance, but the feeling that we had, and he was out, and it was at that moment that he started doing the hand waving. I'm sure he'd probably done it before, but that was one of the first times that I'd seen that away last season. And at that point, it felt good. And on a personal level, yeah, the last one for me, just selfishly from a podcast point of view, was QPR. That wasn't necessarily a Rohl moment. It was a Sheffield Wednesday, the Wednesday week on tour moment, and it was just a great day with you lot. So yeah,
I was going to say Leicester, but Robbo stole my thunder because he's already said it, and I thought I'll say Leicester because it wasn't obviously a win, it wasn't anything convincing, but it was just, I thought, for me, Robbo's put it. He says, for me, it was the Leicester game at home last season, last minute equaliser. Danny doing a lap of Hillsborough, high diving, the fans shouting, "We need you!" Goosebumps moment. That. So I
who would have thought? Who would have thought that the person who scored the goal,
Jeff Hendrick, would have turned our season around, and that's what I was going to say.
Changed our season.
And I was going to say that for me, that was the time when, all right, it wasn't a pretty game. We were in it. Don't get me wrong, we weren't well out of it. I think Leicester were a bit off it. But we were still in it with the crap we'd had, and for Jeff Hendricks to pop up obviously with a last minute equaliser, And I think from then it was, I really did believe, and I thought Danny had done something in that game, and I thought that was the start of the season, even though it was God knows how many months in. And I was going to say that for me, and I just think that excuse me, windy pops, as Dan would say. There's been some great times, and Darren Moore had it where he did the hi-ho silver lining and all clapping along with that and everything. And Danny's got his own way of interacting with the fans, but I think the fans have took on that on board. We've said it as well. So for me, it was that was it. So, boss, Danny Rohl's honesty after the 6-0 drubbing at Ipswich. I tried to do this, I got wrong, but I tried to win. There you are. That's a great thing. That's what your manager comes out and gives honesty. What you want to hear, isn't it? He tried something, it didn't work, and go again.
Can you flash up the greatest name that I've seen in this chat and either one of the comments? One of the comments. It's been absolutely outstanding. Hergle McGurgle. McMurgle.
Hergle McMurgle. Apologies, he or she or however. Probably the West Brom game. All the work of the preceding months had paid off, and survival was finally in touching distance. I was so happy that day. They are fantastic. Yeah, there is going to be. It's going to link to games as well, not just obviously where you thought this season turned or you thought that you believed. And I think that's great that he obviously after the shower that we did, the months after that he brought that to the Wednesday fans, because it weren't a happy place, was it, after 10 games last season?
No,
it was awful.
Yeah.
Right, so we've exhausted Danny, and what time are we on here? 32. That sounded horrible, didn't it? Or exhausted it. But yeah, I'm gonna put some adverts in. So as Dan would say, we're gonna some people are gonna sell you some stuff. So there you go. Yeah, we're back now. Thank you very much. So we've got a bit of an early season report. So we've talked about signings with Danny and all this stuff. So just a quick overview of obviously the first. What we are now, 10 games has it been? 9 games are we in? Can't remember now. 15th we are.
Look at 9, I think.
I'll start with you, John. What this season we've had 13 incomings. What's been your best signing of the season so far?
It's going to sound obvious, isn't it? And I don't want it to be recency bias, but I can't help think that Shea Charles is looking like a real Rolls Royce of a signing. I mean, he's come in and he's slotted in and he's given Barry Bannon, like, it took 10 years off Barry Bannon, and he's just given him a lease of life. And you can see his quality on the ball, his composure. He never gets flustered in games. You can see the qualities there, and you could see that Danny Rohl was like buzzing when we signed him. He talks about him and he can't help but grin. So I think that's the standout one for me right now. But I think others. We haven't seen much of Kabatsky yet. I think there's more to come from him. Ingleson flashed here and there as well. So I think there's more to come from him too. But I can't look any further than Shea Charles right now.
I think a lot of people will agree with you. I think he's been an inspired signing for such a young guy as well to come in and slot aside of a guy who's nearly twice his age, isn't he? Not far off, is he? But Simon, I'll come with you. Your best goal that we've scored this season that you can remember. It doesn't have to be the best goal. It could be any reason. It could be in a 2-1 loss to Luton, couldn't it?
Yeah, I've actually, because we got these earlier on, didn't we? And I've written 2 or 3.
Just
I
one,
think
please.
Bannon's goal, QPR goal. I thought to break the deadlock, despite us drawing 1-1 in the end. I thought Bannon's goal was a superb turn volley. Lovely finish. Something he lacked last season was his finishing. which we missed out on. He's got a few this season. I loved it. Loved that. It was a great goal.
Steve, your question is, what's missing? What's missing from this team? We've obviously, John's waxed lyrical about Shea Charles, and obviously his partnership with Bannon in the midfield has been questionable, hasn't it? In seasons before, we've had Will Vaulks, Mas Luongo, George Byers. But for you, what's missing from this current 11 or stroke 18, should we say?
Goals.
Holly's favourite.
That's it.
Goals.
I want goals.
And the funny thing is, since you said that, we've really struggled scoring goals.
I want to live in a world where Ugbo gets settled, having not had a pre-season, and comes off the back of this international break and goes on a hot streak and scores 7 goals in the next 6 games or something like that. Because if that happens, I think everything will start to fall into place. We were all happy that he signed, he came back. He's not absolutely prolific, but he's a real focal point. Was a real focal point at the back end of last season. I just want us to start scoring goals. I want somebody to go on a run, get 7, 8, 9 goals. Goals coming from everywhere. I can see our mate Hergle's just put in the comments a 20 goal a season striker, which we all want that, but the reality is they're very hard to come by when we're paying 2.5 million for Ugbo, whose best return's been 8, 9 goals in the season, whatever it may have been. If we can get goals from all over the park and we're averaging 2, 3 goals, per game, it would be an absolute dream, wouldn't it? But just more consistency in front of goal, more of a goal threat, people getting on the end of the good intricate play that we do. And just, if we could get Masaba to be a little bit more consistent, we could get a couple more goals from midfield. We could get those players that are in and around those areas to hit the bloody target and score some goals for us. I'd be happy. That's what's missing for me. Everything else is falling into place. We've got an outstanding goalkeeper, Baz and Shea in the middle of the park. Fantastic. It's starting to come together. I'll let Ash tell you why we've just started laughing, but yeah, that's what's missing for me. Just a little bit of focal point up top.
So I love all your answers, I do, but I think Paul has come back with probably the answer that we all want. It's only a penalty in the 93rd minute against the Bullens.
We've still got to score it, though, haven't we?
Oh, come on, John. No.
And also we're 4-0 down, so... It should say a winning penalty in the 93rd minute against the Blunts.
I think
a bit of a early season report, and I'm going to go old school here. I know there's a teacher on the podcast, so none of your 9, 8, 7, 6s. I want old school A's, B's, C's, D's, whatever. If you're marking this early season performance, and everyone get involved in the comments, please put it down. What would you rate, or what would you mark the early season at the minute? Simon, go you first.
Gosh, why did you come to me first?
Because you look like the one that was thinking about it the most.
Yeah, I was.
He did.
Well, there's still floating around. There's still floating around in there. But if you've ever seen The Simpsons, it was Homer dancing around a maypole.
You're going. Does he mean CSEs or does he mean
yes,
O levels?
16 plus. Right, that's what I've got. O levels. I would go for C. Sheffield Wednesday do show promise, but sometimes fail to meet what they should be doing in front of goal.
Nice, not too bad. Steve, I'll go with you next. So Craig's gone C-, and Martin has said a B+. He has to compare it to last season. At this stage from last season, it's an A**, isn't it, or something, whatever it is, because you were failing you or whatever below you is. But go on, Stevie. What's?
I think with due respect to Craig, I think C's harsh. We've made progress on last year, and maybe that C is an expectation. The expectation at the start of the season that I was fully involved with. I had as top 6, 8. I think I did a preview for Sunderland, and I said we'll finish between 6th and 8th this season. Reality is set in, and we're probably not going to finish between 6th and 8th. However, if you look at where we are now compared to where we were under Chisco and where we were when Danny came in, and you see it as a bigger project, then I think I don't think B- is unreasonable.
Well, you've gone with Hergel McMurgel. I'm just going to say the full name because I like it. B-. His target is 10 to 12, and we're on track for that, which is fair enough. I don't think. I'm not sure what more Danny could be doing. Winning more games, Stevie. Come on.
Of course, I trust.
Yeah,
I trust his recruitment. I think he's signed well. We've got Charles in. We've got Beadle in. I think when the penny drops and everything starts to click, I think Ingelsson and Kabatsky will be solid players for us. We didn't put this in on the categories or the list, but with hindsight, I'm kind of wondering what the plan was around Charlie McNeil. That's the only one that I can't quite see at the moment. Oh, an honourable mention to Chalobah, who may very well be this generation's Alman Abdi. But I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope I'm wrong.
Was Chalobah what the position that now Shea Charles has come into? Because obviously Charles was signed later on. So was Chalobah the actual what we expected Shea Charles is now doing? And then obviously he's just come in and got injured, and like you say, he may disappear into the ether or a Caribbean island. I don't know.
it's some.
Sorry, Stevie, go on.
I was just going to say it's really unfortunate for Chalobah, and you wouldn't want to wish ill on any one of the players that played for Sheffield Wednesday. And I hope that when he comes out of it at the end of the day, we've been playing 2 months, and he did play at Grimsby. I want to say in the cup, we played at Grimsby, and then got another knock, and that set him back a little bit. Hopefully, when he comes in, he can be a backup, somebody who's going to compete, keep Bannon and Charles on the toes. We'll see how it all works out. But I want to see a little bit more from those sort of periphery players going forwards.
John, what's your early season report? How do you rate it?
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts were going to be C+ because of the lack of goals, but it's only what we said, like 9-10 games in, so there's still plenty of time for that. And I know that obviously we're full season under Rohl, and expectations were quite high based on what he brought in and how we'd seen it progress from last season. So I think we're making strides. It's a hell of a lot better than last season. I think we're when Ugbo does start to click and get some goals, I think we'll be in a lot better position for it. So yeah, he couldn't do much more, Danny Rohl, and he can only coach him, can't he? He can't score the goals for him. So I think once the goals start going in, we'll look it'll look more like maybe a B+. Quite a jump, obviously, but goals win games, don't they? And general playing final third as well just needs to be a little bit tighter, a little bit sharper. And I'm sure we'll work on that, and I'm sure it'll get better. So I've gone with C+, but C+ and B-, it's a cigarette paper, isn't it? So very close.
Karen's put C+, moments of quality, and it will improve with belief. You can't argue with that one, can you? Mm-hmm. So we've seen in the media, social media, and anything that there is rumours that there's new contracts being offered already to some players, which is a first as well. So we said about how Danny's changing the philosophy and behind the scenes. So it looks like that Paul Valentin and Akin Famewo have been offered new deals. Would you be happy with that, Stevie, if both of them re-signed?
I'm going to be controversial and say that I think I probably booked the trend because I know there's been a lot of love recently for Valentin, but I think of the two players, the one that I'd rather keep would be Firmino. I think Firmino's been class over the last sort of month or so. He's been my surprise package of this season. It comes with a caveat that I only think he's suitable to play in a back three. I don't think he can play centre half in a back four, and I mean that with the greatest respect. I think he needs an insurance policy behind him, and I don't think that comes if he plays in a flat back four. And he can't play left back at the championship level if we're going to aspire to get to there. I don't think he's good enough. And again, I mean that with the greatest respect because I think he's been absolutely phenomenal in the left-hand side of that three, and he can do it better than anybody else that we've got in the squad at the moment. I would buy if I'd give anything to have Firmino sign a contract because I think he's that important. Because when things aren't going well and that flat back four isn't working, we go to three at the back. I think he's one of the most important players in the team at the moment, and I think he's earned that. Would I have Paul? Yes. For whatever reason, maybe it's just a personal thing, maybe it's a love of Liam Palmer, whatever you want to call it. I'm not quite where everybody else is on Paul Valentin. I think he does really well, but I think he's more episodic than people see. I see it as more episodic than other people do. I think he comes in fits and starts within games, but then he can be quite anonymous at times. And I know that's a controversial take, but I wouldn't be unhappy with him signing, but I don't see him as a starting right back, right wing back for us over the course of the season. I think he comes in and he's a backup player, a squad player that comes in and does well here and there.
Simon, your thoughts on the potential for Firmino and Paul Valentin signing contracts?
I would say that it's a no-brainer on Firmino. He's probably been our best player this season. He's last season I would have questioned if we were looking at a replacement, he might have been somebody I would have looked at replacing. This season, I think he's been absolutely superb. I agree with Steve in regards to he's more suited to a back three than a back four, without a doubt. But he has been superb, so it'd be a no-brainer not to offer him a contract. Paul Valentin, I like Paul Valentin. I think he's a great player. I just don't think he's had enough game time this season so far. Now there's players being brought in. Valerie, obviously Palmer's come back into the fold, which has pushed him probably third in the pecking order. But I like him. I think he's a great player. He gives you that bit of pace. He does remind me, though, his end product is a little lacking sometimes. He reminds me of Jack Hunt in regards to he can bomb. Well, the early days of Jack Hunt, bombing down the wing and then the cross into the box isn't that great. I prefer it when he keeps it at his feet and cuts in. But if we're offering contracts out and they're reasonable, I mean, there was talk about somebody coming in for Paul, wasn't there? I can't remember who it was, but a foreign team coming in for him. Look, it's timed down to a contract, and then somebody comes in and offers a decent amount of money. That might be why they are looking at additional extra contracts, extra months, years on them.
Yeah, maybe. John, for you, no-brainer for both, or have you got reservations?
I think both players have definitely improved a lot. I think that Firmino had issues, like Stevie mentioned, when we were playing a certain system. He also had some bad luck with injuries and suspensions. And I think he's playing alongside Deschamps in that back three as well, has really brought him on, and he's played himself into a new contract. I know we can sometimes get cynical about that when it's contracts and stuff, but he's earning it. He's earning this contract for Firmino, definitely. So I've no issue with that whatsoever. I think Valentin is a good squad depth. He's not going to play as much as Firmino in my eyes. If they're always fit, then Firmino will get in more times than Valentin, I would assume. But when you're looking at systems that Danny likes to play, sometimes he likes to double up as well, doesn't he, on those wings? So you can have a Johnson on the left doubling up with maybe Ingleson if he pushes him out there, or someone else. And I think you see that on the right as well. Sometimes you could have Palmer and you could have Valentin in front because he can play a bit more of an advanced role as well. So tactically, I think it does make sense if he wants to offer him a contract. I think tactically it does make sense to try and want to retain him. But yeah, out of the two for me were definitely more so than Valentin, but not unhappy about both getting offered contracts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Martin's where I'm at. I think it makes business sense. Both of value. Let's not lose them on a free. I think Valentin's 27 and for me was 25. So I do think that. I do think if they sign for another couple of years and in the summer there's movement and we get, because who's saying that Danny hasn't got irons in the fire in the summer and he wants to bring in younger or more experienced players that he thinks can offer a bit more, then we've been guilty in the past of letting people dwindle the contracts down and leaving for nothing. And then people say, oh, why don't we offer them contract? Yeah. and then contracts go down. Like Dannyversary, there's another one. Obviously, Trek quite badly. And look what he's doing now for basically nothing. So, you know what I mean? It does make, if you're signing someone, and I don't know what they'll be on a week, who guesses, but I'm sure whatever you're going to be paying them, you're going to get it back on a transfer fee anyway. So
the club's got huge history going way back, hasn't it? Darko Kovacic, you know, he left the club for peanuts and then went to, was it Sampdoria, or he went for 9 million? Yeah,
Sociedad, and then he went to Juventus.
Juventus, Real Sociedad to Juventus. 9 million. You know, we've got history of it, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about strikers, and it's been announced today that a guy that can only be described as Marmite. I think that's it. Marmite along across the Wednesday fans. You either loved him, hated him, or thought he was mercurial, thought he was waste of time, thought he the things that have been described for this guy, you could write a dictionary on. Yeah, if you've seen it on social media, the big man, and I know he didn't like it, but Big Dave is there. Look, has announced his retirement, and he said in his press release or tweet or whatever he didn't want to retire. He's 35 and it's early retirement for him. So what do you think to that? What was what were your thoughts on New Who? Stevie, I'll come to you first. Obviously, were you love him or hate him? Could you see the merits of what he offered? Which thing? And just give me your favourite New Who moment. I realise this, like, he's been left a while, so it's not like.
Yeah, I wasn't a New Who guy at the time. I wasn't a big proponent of Big Dave, if I'm honest with you. Especially the early contract or two. As time went on, I began to see the merits of having a Big Dave. He will always be. I'll always remember him and be grateful for the impact that he had off the bench. The goal against it's Norwich, isn't it? The goal in the corner where he comes in and whips it into the top corner at Hillsborough. It is Norwich, isn't it?
Was it Preston?
Yeah, it might be Preston.
What the wonder goal?
Yeah,
the wonder goal.
Preston.
Okay, yeah. There you go. That's a level of reverence I've got, with the greatest respect to him. For me, it wasn't that goal. The one that I remember him for was the Leeds knee slide. That's as iconic as you can get for respectfully a meh super sub type player. But I don't think he was ever going to be a player that we'd build a team around. And he's played when we were in terms of a status, we were at a higher level than we are now. I'm not sure that Danny Rohl would build a team around Attinuku, but fair play to him. He loves the club. The club will love him. I will respect him for everything that he did for this club, but I don't have that sort of reverence for him that certain other people do. But I'm glad that he speaks with such high regard for his time at Sheffield Wednesday.
John, Attinuku.
Wow. Where do you start with Attinuku? I mean, crikey. scored at QPR, I thought we'd got the next Zlatan. You know, he looked like a proper player, didn't he? You know, and then the slogan just kept coming out, "Dare to nuke you," and all that in reference to Zlatan. But he was such a polarizing player, wasn't he? I mean, some games you'd be watching, you're like, how does this guy even get a game? You know what I mean? He looks awful. And then, you know, and he probably had more of those games than ones where he actually looked like it was good or even like very good. But he was just a character, wasn't he? And he'd come up with a special goal here and there. And, you know, you mentioned the one at Leeds, like Stevie said, and then just basically shoulder barges Pennington into the ground, isn't it? And then just knee slides in the snow to win at Leeds. It was like an iconic moment from a very, very average, if not below average player, but he wore the shirt with pride, and he did enjoy his time with us, as I've mentioned, and did have some flashy moments here and there. And you know, the Preston goal was ridiculous. I mean, you know, to score a goal like that at any level is just incredible, really. And in some ways, it's a bit like when you look back in, I don't know, another 5 years, you might remember him more fondly than we do now. I think you remember like Siboni, when he was never like that kind of player that, you know, I think we signed him with De Builder, and De Builder was meant to be the hot shot, but actually Sibon offered us more, and then Sibon came and went, and then you look back on the time and you're like, actually, it was pretty decent for us. So I don't know if people start to change their mind and as time goes by about it and remember him a bit more fondly. I remember him for some good moments here and there. And he did the best he could with limited ability, and wish him well in his retirement. And one special mention for him, his commentary on that game when we won at Wembley, when Windass scores, and he's on the radio with the Wednesday in-house commentary. It's fantastic. The passion in there is brilliant. If you ever get a chance to re-listen to it, do it, because it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's a good bit of radio. Simon, how about you? Big Dave fan.
Atty. I was at QPR when he scored that goal. His debut, I think. Did Dave Jones sign him? I think Dave Jones signed him anyway. He came on, he scored a wonderful goal, and we thought we've got a right prospect here. And then he let me down game after game after game after that. And I didn't like him. I was a bit like Steve at first, but he became this pantomime villain, didn't he? Some fans absolutely lauded him and some fans didn't. And then I took to him. I really did take to him. The goal he scored at Watford, which will go down in history and will be lauded in Bournemouth, it would be the one that really gets me. Was I'd gone down the night before, had a session on the ale, and me and my mate went, and it was last away game of the season. And they were wheeling the arch out for Championship champions, Watford, whatever year it was. And they were actually wheeling it out as Atty kicked the ball into the ground and it beat the keeper and went to the back of the net. And they literally turned around with this balloon arch and wheeled it back in as the championship winning trophy went to Bournemouth. And we as Wednesday fans, I crowd surfed over we must have gone the rows we were on. We were probably 5 rows in front after we'd finished. It was mental. And I'll always remember him for that day out. And I remember him for the Preston goal and the Leeds goal, and that how he had this camaraderie in the changing room with Forestieri and Lucas Yao, and he became a bit of a favourite in the changing room, didn't he? Less so on the pitch, and then slowly disappeared into the background. But if you think about the number of managers that he went through, who all kept him, so despite being a player who was much derided by his own fans, Carlos kept him, Gary Monk kept him, all these managers just kept him.
This sounds familiar.
Yeah. And one thing that'll just endear him to me was I think we played Wigan away on a cold Tuesday night, and a mate of mine took us. He lives in Warrington. He's got a company in Warrington, and they paid hospitality. And his words were, "Who's that big lump playing up front for Wednesday? He looks like he runs like he's got no knees." And forever after that, he's always called him No Knees. So is that bloke No Knees still playing for you? Now he's left. And that became the thing that Big Dave became No Knees, because he ran like he no longer had any knees. And there you go. That is Big Dave.
Again, give me 10 Atinu Hughes over 1 J Bothroyd. There you go.
Yeah, that is Atinu. Yeah, well, congratulations on your retirement, and you know where we are when you want to come and have a chat. If anyone wants to see that, anyone, yeah, should we try and get Big Dave on the
campaign to get Big Dave on the podcast?
Not if we call him Big Dave, he won't come on.
Yeah, he don't like it, does it? Yeah.
Sorry,
given my comments, I'll probably swerve that one.
Yeah, if his agent,
but thank you.
If his agent wants to go, who's this podcast that we'll watch a few episodes? Yeah, not this one.
Skip that bit.
Yeah,
skip Stevie.
Go watch Dannyversary.
Yeah.
Everybody else spoke really well about him.
Mine was Leeds, easy one, isn't it? I mean, the knee slide. He scored the first goal as well. He scored 2, didn't he, that day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he scored 2.
The first one was a decent one as well.
So that was in the snow. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Right, it's nearly the end. We've done an hour. The boss will be kicking us because we've gone over an hour. Has anyone got any other business? I've got
I've got one. Just in case she listens back, it's Holly's birthday today. We all seem to have podcast birthdays in and around a couple of months of each other, and it's Holly's turn tonight. So, and this isn't planned. I just want to wish Holly, on behalf of the rest of the Wednesday week, a fantastic birthday. She's had a year, obviously, bless her. And I hope she's out there getting absolutely smashed tonight, and ready for Portsmouth.
Peanut whiskies.
We love you, Holly.
Yeah, thank you, Stevie.
Yeah,
we do. She's a good one. Any other business from me? You may have seen on our social medias the last week or two. We're on Saturday, the home game against Burnley. We will be setting up our donation station for our friends at Pact. So if you can get down there and donate your shampoos, deodorants, tissues, flannels, body wash, all new, by the way. Go into the mega store. There'll be a donation station there that you can just drop it off in there. You don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to look at any. You won't see any of our faces. So don't think you don't want to see that. And also just for take some spare change down with you as well. Pact are doing a bucket collection around the ground before the Burnley game as well. So the fantastic friends over there doing a great thing. So if you can help them with a couple of quid as well, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Anyone else with any other business?
We play Burnley on Saturday.
We do. Yep.
We do.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about playing Burnley on Saturday?
No, we don't do them. How long have you been on this? We don't talk previews on this show anymore. How long have you been doing this? No, do we, Eric? We do.
Oh, we're playing.
Right, for anyone that watches this show, yeah. So we do a hello from the other side, which if you tune in, that's our preview with a podcast that from the team we're playing. And
3 of them this season already.
What else,
Steve?
we do?
You should know this by now.
What else would, if you've not seen, because obviously we're all over social, I put predictions out. So these guys tell me a prediction and we put it out and then we just hammer them if they're right or wrong.
Or just tell me I've got the wrong one and throw me under the bus.
Yeah.
We're on the socials. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
All the social medias.
All of the social media.
So, yeah, that's it. And I've got any other business because I've got an apology to make as well. I thought to apology to the Sheffield Wednesday ladies. I was supposed to get down yesterday to watch their home match and some family stuff come up, so I couldn't make it. So apologies to them. I said I was going to do it, but I didn't. But I will, or we will, make a home game very much soon to go and watch the ladies. And
we'll get down on mass, won't we?
Amy, who we sponsor as well. So they had a 2-1 loss yesterday, unfortunately. So Oh, excuse me. Blimey heck. Yeah. So anything else? That's it. All the likes, all the subscribes, all the comments, really appreciate them. All the votes are in now for the FCAs as well. So fingers crossed for us. I'm sure we won't win, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. So yeah, thank you very much for all the support, all the votes, all the love. It's been great. We'll see you next week. Thank you. What do I do here now? Come on, Stevie. What do I do? Anyone know? Anyone know? What do I do?
You click end stream, outro.
I imagine it's the
outro.
button there.
No, I need to press that one.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week. Bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.